setting the expectation and pricing. I feel like we had this weird, tell me if your guys' market is the same, but we had this weird market where I feel like we as agents take a little bit to adjust and like realize what's going on. But we had this market that all of a sudden switched that our active inventory was a lot lower price than our closed comps. So everyone was going off of closed comps. But if your active inventory was lower in price, then things just weren't moving at what they were closing at before. So it took us a little bit to kind of like adjust to that that was our new norm. And to start, I think the number one thing you can do with your listings is have the hard conversation up front about pricing. So I'm very strategic in my pricing conversations. I'm like going through comps with people at our appointment. Or I used to just send like, here's where I think we should price. I now send a full email with a video going over comps because I think the hardest thing with getting your listing sold is like a seller thinks this and you think this. And if you don't have a chance to explain yourself, then they don't have a reason to believe you. So I've been taking a ton of time with that. And I really haven't been taking listings if it's like, I don't think that's realistic or we don't have a plan to move forward if
Yeah.
it's not gonna sell at that. So then that would be number one. And then I think all of us probably have that weird part where your listings are sitting and the seller's like, well, what are you doing? Like, I haven't talked to you, you haven't talked to us. I'm hoping you're doing things on the background, or we're doing things on our back end, and the sellers are like, know nothing about it. So we've implemented a system where every Monday, in our intake form, we ask if you want to do a call or just send an email for feedback every Monday. So depending on what they say, we do a call with them. And in that call, we're like going through the comps, if they've changed, what we're doing on the marketing end, what our marketing efforts have kind of produced so far, and what we think the next steps are. Um, and that's been really big. And like, okay, you're hearing from me every Monday. You know, I'm on top of everything that I'm doing from a marketing standpoint, from a listing standpoint. I'm telling you the same thing over and over again. Now we both know what needs to happen versus before where it was just like, hey, I'm going to call you after 30 days and say it's time to do a price drop. And they're like, wait, no, we just need to market it more. You're not marketing it enough. So I feel like overall, like more than the way that I market houses, it's like the
Oh,
steps that I take
uh,
before. Oh, sorry, did someone have a question?
yeah, I just muted her.
Oh,
It was like a background noise.
oh, okay, cool. I didn't know if someone was chiming in. But yeah. And then I'll go over all of my marketing that we do too, but I
Yeah.
try to keep it kind of simple these days.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I mean, I had one person the other day who I told them, the pricing that I thought. I was like, oh, I really think we should be, well, let me take that back. I asked him what he thought he should list the property at based on the comps that I was sharing with him. And he went like 20K over the highest. And I was like, okay, so we're going to have to be realistic here. And I told him where I thought we should list it. And he was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Like no pushback at all, which I was kind of expecting pushback when I told him 20,000 less than what he originally said. So I wasn't sure how that was going to go, but I feel like you do have to be very realistic with people up front and honest because otherwise they're going to be concerned about, what you're doing. Like you said, what are you doing in the background? What are you doing on this? I just had a conversation yesterday with somebody about vacant land that's been sitting for 6 months. And he's like, I don't know what else to do for this. And I'm like, well, vacant land's a hard one. It's a little bit different, but I gave him some ideas and he said he was going to run with that for now, but it's tough. So, well, let's dive in here. So, since we already kind of started, um,
Oh,
welcome back, guys, to Modern Agent Blueprint. Today we have Molly Rodham here. She is out of Phoenix. So, if you guys need a partner out there for clients who are moving, Molly's your girl. I started following her on Instagram a while ago. I've taken some of her classes. I've bought a lot of her products or digital products that she uses for marketing. And I thought, who better to have on this mastermind today about managing your listings and unique ways of marketing them in order to get the most eyes on the property. So, Molly, thank you so much for being on here today.
go. Um, okay, I'm gonna start actually before I share my screen. Most of what I am talking about today is marketing via social media. I would love, since there's a ton of us in here, I would love for this to be collaborative. Like I said, I like love more than any. I could just teach and talk at you guys all day, but I love in small group settings, especially to like make this exactly what you guys want to get out of it. So if you have questions or you have things that you're wanting to implement that you just need a little bit of help with in strategy or anything, please chime in. I love that. It makes me feel like I'm not alone over here. But most of what I'm going to talk about is, like I said, social media, unless anyone else wants to chime in on other ways to market your property. But before I get started on that, I'm going to tell you what I usually say on my, so I used to have this thing that I did for every listing that I had, and I still do it, but I kind of like to tailor it just a little bit now. So really the only ways that we market our listings are this. When I go to a listing appointment, I'm saying, the way that I make it where it's like their choice and not really like, okay, we could do all these fancy things, but it's not what is going to get your home sold, is I usually start by saying like, okay, who is the buyer of your house? Here's who I think it is. I think it's going to be a couple who just got engaged who doesn't have kids yet because you're only a 3 bedroom. I think they're going to be like, I just kind of like name out who I think the buyer of their home is. And then I'll ask like, who do you think is buying in your area? Who do you think your buyer is? And then typically we'll say the exact same thing. Or they'll know something about their neighborhood that like, oh, I think I'm in charge of waiting room. That's okay. I can let
Is
people
there
in.
somebody, sorry, I was posting your thing. I can get the
Yeah.
waiting.
I'm happy to click on, but if you want to turn it off, that's fine too. And then they'll usually say the same thing as me, or they'll say something a little bit different, like, well, actually, the last 4 people that bought in our neighborhood were these people. And then what I like to say, because I think this clicks with everyone, is I like to say, okay, cool. Well, what I really want to do is make sure we're getting in front of the buyers that are likely to buy your house. And here's where I think those people will be. And in my mind, really the way to market to people is a couple ways that I do. Social media, number one, especially if they're a younger demographic. Um, if it's someone moving from out of state or whoever it is, like you guys know the way to market to those people typically. So I just say, here's where I think those people are consuming marketing, and that's really where I want to hit with what we're doing. A lot of people lately have been asking me about open houses and all these different things. And here's what I say. So I'll start by saying, when I'm talking about pricing, especially, I'll say, I do not want your house on the market more than 3 weeks. If we don't get an offer within the first 2 weeks, your offers are going to get worse as they come in, or we're going to have to adjust in price, and that's going to leave money on the table. So that's really why I want to price it really well, and I want to get you under contract within the first 2 weeks. You'll see when I'm showing them data, you'll see this price house is probably priced what it's worth now, but they don't have offers because they started $50,000 over and now they're chasing the market. So everything that I'm doing is really tying back into pricing and strategy and why I'm doing what I do. So, what I'm saying is because I want your house to sell within the first couple weeks on market, I want to launch it really appropriately and I want to get as many eyes on it as I can in the first week as possible. So I'll do one open house. I don't think an open house is what's going to sell your house, but I think if there's someone out there that's agent is out of town or they're not quite sure that they're ready to buy and they see this house and they'll decide, like, I think that it's a good option, but I don't just want to do an open house. I want to make sure I'm marketing it really well so that we can get the people in that we want. So this is my complete listing strategy. Take it, copy it, make it your own. But the way that we market your property is we know that people in your neighborhood always know people that want to move in your neighborhood or upsizing or downsizing. So we do 500 mailers to the closest neighbors, inviting them to our open house, which is launching your property that weekend. I'm big on social media and I have a really big email list that I like to market to. That's it. And I feel like people don't really care the way that you're marketing their home as long as they trust that you know what you're doing in marketing. So that's literally all that we do. I don't, we did Zillow showcase listings at one point. I used to say that and I would really sell that part, like, oh, we get your client, like we get you on the front page of Zillow. People don't care. I've lost just as many listings with that strategy and that tool as I have gotten, like I've gotten more listings without that than I've won them because I had that. So I don't do that anymore. I'm also at a point where I'm trying to raise my hourly rate. Who here is trying to raise what they make, what they net off of clients, properties, listings? And so I really wanted to get rid of a lot of that fluff. That's like, yeah, sure, I'll advertise your home or I'll do this or I'll pay for that. And so really for me, it's like, what works? What am I good at? Where is your buyer? and what is realistic in getting your property sold. So I feel like having a plan where someone trusts you and then keeping in touch more than anything, like with calling or emailing every Monday, our clients are never really like, okay, well, what else do we need to do? Because I already had the conversation up front. We're going to price it right. We're going to launch it. We're going to get in front of as many people as we can. And if after that we're not having buyers or we're not having offers or we're not getting showings, that's literally the market telling us that you're priced too high. And that's kind of, it's like, I used to think it was this big complex thing where I'm like, well, now we could try a YouTube video, or we're 30 days on market. Now we could try this. But I don't feel like, you guys probably know, if the buyers aren't there or they're not coming or they're not scheduling showings, they're probably not interested at the price they are. So any questions on that?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I mean, I think it's, being upfront and honest with them about your strategy. I mean, and what works, what doesn't, and same thing like you were talking about losing money on stuff or like what are you doing for your listings? I was telling like some of my team the other day, I, in my mind, I was like, what other value can I add? So I started doing like staging with a lot of properties, and it's bit me in the freaking butt twice now on it, where they ended up renting it instead of like renting it to a friend. So then I ended up not even getting like my full commission on it. Just like some crazy things that happened. So I'm trying to like taper back a little bit and figure out again, like, where's the value? Like, yes, I could do that, but what happens if it goes sideways or something? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah. So it's like when we take listings on now, it's literally like like it's like, okay, is the risk versus reward there? If I'm listing high and I'm paying 1,000 bucks for video, or I'm spending all my time and it's not going to sell, why would I? That's a bad business investment. We used to stage houses. Like we would be like, if it was a $1 million home and we had a 3% commission, back when staging was like 2,500 bucks, we would pay to stage it. But that to me felt like a bad business investment. So now we don't do that. If we do, we'll have them pay for it and we'll say we'll split it with you at close. So that's all that we do.
Yeah.
Um,
Smart move.
anyone else want to chime in on anything related to like the listing process or just like getting the listing in general? And I
I
don't think
know,
I got anyone
oh,
in the chat. Did anyone have anything that they wanted, like that they're struggling with or want covered today?
I know Nikki, I'm gonna call on you. I know that she stages a lot of her houses, like with her own stuff. Is that
Yeah,
something that you really push and you feel like that gets you more listings by doing that?
depends on the house. So if the house is totally vacant, it generally I will push it because it's like it definitely increases the amount of views that it gets. People can visualize then, how big of a bed can go in this bedroom, how big of a table can fit into this dining room because everybody's so visual. Um, I don't like for those, it's kind of light staging. I'm not bringing in couches or anything like that, but I will bring in, dining room table, hang things on the walls, curtains. I'll do the bedrooms with like, so it looks like a bed with the air mattress, all that stuff, and tables, nightstands, that kind of stuff. And I do think that that helps. And if I'm at the listing, I will tell them that. I've brought in a stager where we've used some of their stuff because if it's a really awkward room that I feel is going to be a hard sell, like I've seen living rooms that are really long and narrow. And so I'll bring somebody in there to reconfigure that whole layout, just kind of bring it up a notch. Um, and that's also help staging sells. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So whether I have to do it or I bring in somebody to kind of help with it, I definitely use that as a selling feature.
Totally. I do too. I don't want to pay for it anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm
Oh,
not going to pay for it. It's just, I already have the stuff, and if it's
yeah.
not going to be a huge pain in the ass, but I'm not like lugging couches. That's not going to happen.
I basically like explain it to them. I'm like, here's your risk versus reward for staging. It's
Right.
going to be $3,800 and
Get you
lots.
15,000 or 20,000 more. Yeah.
Yeah. And it depends on price point too, but yeah, that's kind of, I leave it in there at their discretion now. Okay, well, if no one has questions or wants to chat about anything, then then I'll get into my presentation, which is really what I love most, and that's social media marketing. And not just to get like eyes on your clients' listings, but also to get you more buyers and sellers, because that's what we really all want. So if you guys are ready, I'll dig into that. Let me just share my screen. I'm not going to go into present mode because it is annoying and I can't see what's coming next. I'm going to leave it like this, but we're going to start with marketing your listing. So who here feels like they can show up on social media and kind of market their lives, market their business, or who here feels like it's something that they really struggle with? If you guys could just put it in the chat. Cool. Cool. Okay, we got some good. Okay, cool.
Skylar, come on, chime in. You're terrible at it.
What am
Okay.
I terrible at?
Jumping on socials and using them to market yourself and your business.
Yeah, I have like 3 posts in the past month or two.
Proud of
Okay.
you for that, Skylar. We're improving.
Well, Skylar, I feel like I'm going to take a little bit of weight off of your back. Is that the right saying? A little weight off your
Shoulders.
shoulders or back, wherever the weight, wherever you're feeling the weight of social media. Because something that I've learned recently, and this is great for people who feel like you can create content, but maybe you want to amplify in 2026 or the end of 2025 to really get more business. And something that I've realized lately is when you guys think about the people that you like following on social media, what I'll answer this for you, but what do you feel like you like watching? For me, I like watching people document their lives. Isn't that all of you? Like,
Yeah.
I used to like education. I still like education, but literally the people that we usually gravitate towards, or if you have a favorite influencer, literally all that they're doing is documenting their lives. And so I feel like if you think of content creation as I'm not creating content, I'm just documenting something that's happening, you should have millions of pieces of content that you can create because it's your life and it's your job. And it should make it feel a lot less weird, scripted, calculated, a job. So I'm going to kind of teach you how to take your listings and your life and make content out of it. So think of it now as this, documenting your life, not creating content. Literally, I heard someone say that on a podcast and I was like, oh, whoa, why did that just take so much pressure off of me? And then the only things that I use to do this are these two things. I have an 𝗡𝗶𝗍 if you guys don't already have one. It's the best. It sticks on the back of your phone, and then you can put your phone on a window anywhere, on your car, on anything flat, a mailbox if you need to. And then you're not like, you always have something that you could create content with. And then I don't really ever use a tripod, but I do for like things in my office. Like I don't bring this with me, but these are the only two things I need. And the only thing I really think you would need is this. If you're documenting and you're at like a listing, you can put it on the window and you can take a video of yourself, or you can put it there and you can talk to it. So if you're going to order anything on Amazon today, make it be an 𝗡𝗶𝗍 for your phone so that you can make more money from
Have
creating
you seen those ones? I have the one that's like it goes on if you have like the MagSafe or whatever, like it's got the little thing on the back and it vacuum seals basically to any hard surface. And it's got like a swivel thing so you can move
content.
it and angle it. I have that and I love that thing.
I've seen that. I don't like to have to remember anything.
Yeah,
So I
that you
just
do have to remember it.
yeah, I have this on my phone. It's called an 𝗡𝗶𝗍. Um, I have this and then I never have an excuse to like not. Like it's not like you're like, can you hold my phone? I'll literally just stick it on my window, stick it on anything flat, and that's all that I use to create content. And I used to do for listings a ton of professional videos, and I've recently gotten away from that because I don't want to see professional videos. Do you guys?
I'm like a
Maybe.
mix. I like professional, but I also love the more laid back versions.
Okay,
I
sorry.
think that there are a lot of professional videos where people are doing different things now, and
Yeah.
like they are making it more interesting as opposed to just like, here's a house tour. Because the house tour ones I think are really boring. But I think when you get a realtor who's doing something fun and innovative or playing with music or being silly or whatever, like I think that those are the ones that I have become more drawn towards.
Totally. And that's actually what I meant. There's nothing wrong with professional content if you're shooting something that people want to see. But I used to do for every listing as a standard, hi, if you're looking for a house in Phoenix, come take a look. And I was like, I would never watch this. I do not want to consume this. And if I feel that way, people probably don't want to consume it either. So I've started trying to just document things and share in a more organic way. So, really quickly, if you have a listing coming soon, I usually just have this little checklist of B-roll that I want. I'll take an hour or 30 minutes, take B-roll at the listing. And then if I take all of this B-roll, when I go home, I should be able to create 10 pieces of content, no matter what it is. So that's something that's really nice about your listings that are sitting. If you have a bank of content that you can use or like just B-roll, even if it's not the most productive marketing, you still can show up for your clients. Because you have to think too, your clients are like coming on Instagram every day and seeing everyone else post listings. And if you're just posting one thing, I feel like as a seller, I'd be like, okay, well, that was 6 weeks ago. Now what? So that's what I do. And then another cool little tip is if you guys see other posts that you like or that someone else has done, if you save them, you can actually use them as a template. Does everyone know that already?
The reel?
Yep. Yeah. So
Oh
if you
yeah.
save a reel, then when you go to your create templates, if you go to your saved, you can use those as templates. So like if you see a reel that you like that I do and you don't want to like cut to the music or do all that, just use your templates. That's really easy. Okay. So here's what I've been doing lately with my content, and it's been doing really well. I've been documenting my client stories and my stories, which is really nice because all of your transactions, if you're just doing like a just listed, all of your transactions have all these stories that someone can relate to, which is really cool because it's actually happening in your life, and then you're just putting it onto like a post. So it's not like you're having to think or create content. So I'm going to share kind of how I do that, but like here's me putting up a sign at a listing and it's saying it's sunny and 75. Our newest listing is coming soon in Old Town Scottsdale. And it got 20,000 views. That's pretty cool. It's not, this is what I would call like top funnel content. So it's very broad. It's not really selling that listing, but it's getting people's eyes to my Instagram that are somewhat interested in Old Town Scottsdale listings, the fact that it's sunny, that this is an Airbnb, yada, yada, yada. So I feel like this could be one story where you're like, I just listed a house and then you're done, but we're going to create it into multiple things. So I also like to share when I'm getting a closing gift ready. So I'm like, get a closing gift ready for me for this seller. Here's what happened along the process. They originally came for me and I'm talking like over the background, ready to sell, and they were moving out of state. And so we helped like this actual story of what happened. If you get multiple offers on your listings, I'm like, hey, we got multiple offers on our listings. Help me get these things ready to send to my clients so that they can go through them all. And then obviously sharing the listing, you can do normal stories or normal reels, but I've been really liking carousel posts, which have been doing better for me than my reels. And I like them because Instagram shows them twice to your audience versus once for a reel.
What do you mean they show them twice?
Like you've probably noticed when you're scrolling that you'll get a carousel post and it's on the second page.
Oh yeah.
That's Instagram showing that to you for a second time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So reels will only show up once on your feed. Carousel posts, they will show to potential audience twice. So I like that, and my carousel posts do way better than anything else. I'm gonna actually hold on. Let me see. I'm gonna kind of walk you through what those look like for me. Let's see. So here's another idea. So this is that same listing. I've talked about this listing 3 times already. But I'm like, here's a client success story. Here's how I got this Phoenix listing sold in 14 days. And then I'm literally just telling the story, taking random photos that I have of my on my phone, telling the story of it, and then having a hook at the end. Doesn't that seem so easy now? Like anyone could tell a story about a listing that they have, how they met the client, what their problem was that they needed solved, how you were the hero or you helped them to be the hero in their story. Um, I'll show you another one of that same one. So like this too, all on my phone. I'm just telling the story of a Phoenix neighborhood that you need to know about and a house that just got listed. Same house, newest listing just hit the market in Phoenix. Neighborhood's one of the best kept secrets. Um, that's that same house. I'm sharing a story of how that seller found us. So see how like usually one listing would be one piece of content, and now I'm 10xing it. I'm making it into 10 pieces of content just by sharing my story. And none of these, like this is one photo that I took in a mirror of me that I just put stuff over 10 times. Questions?
No, I would say, I mean, sorry, I keep like talking
Oh,
instead of
please.
everyone else, but I do love, I have noticed a huge difference in your content from like last year to this year, and it's great. Like I love your content. I feel like it's explaining more and not just necessarily to like other realtors, but also to like potential clients, like what you're doing, how you're doing it, how you're, positioning yourself with both realtors and clients. I love it.
Yeah, and my half my content speaks to realtors, half of it speaks to like a person, a buyer or seller. But the really cool thing about this too, if you're sharing the back end of your business, when you go on a listing appointment, people are like, you're like, hey, do you want to talk about our marketing plan? And they're like, oh no, we already know. We saw your posts. We know what you do. So that's another cool benefit.
Carrie has
Some,
a question in the chat.
yeah. How do you balance telling the compelling story of a home sale with protecting privacy of the transaction details and clients? I'm never saying like share like all the information that I'm sharing is not something that someone would be like, that's my personal info. Like I'll give you an example.
I also
And
feel like, and I don't mean to cut you off, I also feel like most people don't care. I think we are more concerned about that than they are. And I suppose you could always say, do you mind if I share this on social media? Do you mind if I share our story on social media? I always ask if I can share my clients' just sold photos or anything like that. I also, if I'm going to post a house, like I'll blur out their address so then the address isn't there or something like that. I'm careful about that. But when you're just talking about like how they scheduled with you or whatever, I don't feel like that's necessarily worrying. You should be worried about those details.
no, like this is literally how someone reached out to me. A random photo that we did a buyer consultation. We toured a bunch of them. This isn't a house that they toured. And then just a thank you picture of them. So I don't think, I mean, you guys will know when you're creating a post if you feel like it's giving away too much of someone's personal information. But it also doesn't have to be something super relevant. Like I just told a story on, hold on, let me find. Hold on, it's this one. Like this is a listing that I had. I'm telling a story from like 6 years ago. So I'm like, I'll never forget the first time I helped someone buy a home for their kids living while they went to ASU. They bought a little condo. They ended up making 150 grand or whatever they made. They sold it for 140 grand. Like these people would never know I'm talking about them. They sold a house 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So I don't let it hold you back. Just check your post before you post them and say, is this something that I should check with my buyer or seller on, or am I giving away personal information that someone might not want?
And I think if people know your social media, they're probably going to know that you are likely going to share a story.
Yeah.
I mean, I am also a little bit cautious. So Carrie, I understand your concern. Like I'm a little cautious about posting something too soon or like right away, especially like if something goes sideways. I don't necessarily want to post about all of that immediately. I might hold off on that for a few weeks until like things have cooled out or whatever. But I think you want to definitely spin it in a positive way. So there should be really no qualms about it with them, I would think, unless they're like really adamant about not being featured on socials.
I don't think people are thinking about it. They sold their house, they're moving on with life.
Right.
Yeah. Um, and I try to just really story tell. So like for me, this is a house I'm talking about Like instead of a just listed of photos of the house, I'm like, this house has a 9 acre community with a pool and a bunch of playgrounds and like the things that I think people, I try to think of it as like if I were showing a new buyer that I just met at this house, what are the things that I would say? Or what are the reasons that someone would want to buy that listing? And then I'm sharing that versus sharing the details of like how many bedrooms it has, where it is. Like, I want to know, like, here's what your life would look like here, or here's the reason you want to buy it. And the reason I say I want to think of who the buyer is, because that's how I want to market the property. Like, this house right here was an ASU 4 bedroom with a pool. The buyer of this property was going to be someone buying it for their kids. So, my story to them is literally telling them, hey, buy this house for your kids. Here's a success story of someone else that I had that did that. So if I saw this listing and I was like, oh, that's me that she's talking to. I need to buy a house for my kids. I need a tax write-off. I need all this stuff. This would have really spoke to me. Does someone want to give me like an example of a story or a listing that they have that they're not sure how to market? You guys are really quiet, so if you don't, then we don't have to, but I like to try and give like real life examples because I feel like it helps.
I mean, I can give you a story of one that didn't work and we ended up expiring it. Um,
I'm not big on sharing. I want you to come to my page and be like motivated, excited, inspired. So I try not to share like, I see a lot of agents who share. If I could like delete their post for them, I would, but I see a lot of agents that share like, this seller wanted this amount and I told them they were wrong and then I ended up canceling because I didn't want to take the list. And I'm like, who are you talking to? That's like a private conversation you have with your husband after you get off work. Like,
well, I
but
guess my question more was if I laid out the story to you, do you think that there's anything else that could have been done
from a content standpoint or from a like listing standpoint?
from a listing standpoint?
Sure, lay it out.
So and it's almost exactly like what you said. We had based the comps on the sold properties, and we also based it on the active ones, and we listed the house. And the one thing that I regret from it is the guy was like, "Well, let's see what you can do in 30 days." And I was like, "That's not a lot of time, but if that's what you feel comfortable with, I agreed to it." And I did the photography. We didn't do the professional video, but we did do a video. We had the floor plan. Um, I did my brochures because I do printed brochures. We did a bunch of social media stuff. Um, we had one open house and only one person came to it, and they refused to let me hold any more of them. And they refused to price drop, even though we had all the conversations. And he said to me, he was like, well, what are you going to do to bring in more buyers? And at that point, I was like, with all due respect, sir, here's all the information. Here's everything. You've had no showings. If you're not going to reduce your price or offer concessions or anything else, there isn't anything more that I can do. And
Yes.
we went our separate ways. But I'm curious if, like, is there something else that I could have done or recommended or anything in that way?
Yes, you could have thrown more money in marketing. Like, you could, but like, why would you want to continue on another? If you from the very beginning said, I'm going to think of this just as an investment, is a 30-day contract to sell at a price that's maybe not realistic, worth the investment of my time and my money and my energy, you probably would have been like, no, and moved on. If you got 30 days into it and someone was the only thing to be productive was more marketing or what you could do, and there wasn't a conversation about I don't want that anymore anyway. Um, but no, I mean, I will honestly tell you, like Zillow Showcase listing, it was like if it was a $800,000 listing, you pay like $800 for it,
Hmm.
which gets you on the front page of Zillow. It gets you like 10, I don't know, it's like 70% more views. They email it to their list. It shows up on a bigger and better way for your open houses. And like, if I liked having that in my back pocket, because I would be like, where else do you want me to find people that are looking for buyers? If they're not here, 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 where do you think they are? And I liked that from that standpoint, but now it's like, I don't even want the listing if that's what I'm having to say to them.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, do you think there's anything more that you could do to market it that would bring them a buyer? Or would the buyer come and say, this isn't worth the price that you have?
I don't think that, I mean, we had no showings.
Yeah,
So
no.
I don't think that the buyer was in that point. But still being like hit with that question, like in my brain, I'm like, no, I did all that I could do. But there's always that little back part that's like, is there something else I could have done? Could I have had a different conversation? All of those things. So
I mean, I feel
I
like
was
the
just
only
kind of
thing that you
curious.
really could have done, Emily, is like Molly said, like spend more money on marketing. But really, is that a solid investment if he's not even willing to invest a 6-month contract with you or, offer for reimbursement if he's going to cancel the contract in 30 days? I feel like I don't know, a 30-day contract seems unreasonable. I've done like
Yeah.
a 3-month contract and I did it very reluctantly, and thankfully it was in a fast-moving market and I wasn't concerned with it. But yeah, that kind of stuff, like when you have those people who are, you know, oh, I'll give you 30 days to get it done. And if you can't, sorry about it and move on. But they also want to dig their heels in and not be responsive to your professional opinion on things. Like Molly said, is it really worth your time and investment?
Yeah, and it didn't feel it, and I never would have taken the 30 days if because it was like I had a conversation with the wife because the husband was relocating first, and that went great, and then the husband comes in and he's like, "Well, let's see what you can do in 30 days." And I was so taken aback by it, and I feel like that was the one thing that I wish I had been like, "Yeah, that's not going to work. 30 days is not going to work." But, it's that was the first experience that I've had in that situation because I feel like we have, here in this Ann Arbor area at least been have a pretty decent market. And so there's always that inkling in the back of like, could I have handled that differently? But
Yeah.
was it worth it to spend more money in marketing? No.
And maybe, I mean, you guys know your market and where the buyers are, what you think is realistic, but like sometimes I'm like we've had a similar story where we had these clients, the comps completely changed from the time we listed. It was right at that period where like no one really knew like why things were so slow. Um, and then we had a 6-month agreement, and like after 4 months, they would not do a price drop. They wouldn't like nothing was happening. And so Jared and I were almost like, oh, do we need to start doing YouTube videos and all these things? And I'm like, I don't want to just keep adding things just to add things to make someone happy. If it's not going to be what's in, like if that's not going to bring them a buyer, then I don't think we need to like change our entire lives because like it literally is now conversation up front. Here's what we do. Do you trust us? If you do, here's how I'm going to keep in touch with you every week and let you know what's happening on my end. And then I think it kind of gets rid of that like, well, what else can you do? Because they're like, well, I trust you. It didn't sell in the first 30 days or 3 weeks. Like, we need to do a price drop. So that's like my whole listing appointment. I was just talking about that strategy. And people are like, okay, you're right. Yeah, we really don't want to be on market more than 3 weeks. You're right.
No, that's
Um,
good.
but yeah, I feel like also all of life is like my whole business is like pain point system. So if you have a pain point like that, you're like, okay, now I have a system in my business where I don't take a 30-day. Like all of this is productive. Everything that hurts in your business or doesn't feel good is so productive as long as you put something in place to make sure that doesn't happen again, which I'm sure you do now. You're like, I don't want a 30-day listing. I'll never do that again. And then that saves you time, money, energy, effort in the long run. But just make sure, like I literally keep a list in my phone. If we have a pain point in our business, I'm like, not having that happen again. Not having that happen again.
Well, Emily, and I think you could also use that as like a talking point. Like, let's say somebody else says, I want to do a 30-day listing. You could say, well, here's why I don't do this. because it doesn't give me enough time to market it properly. It doesn't give me enough time to, test the market if there is XYZ, whatever your reasoning is, you could at least have that in your pocket as another talking point on why you won't do something like that again.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
You
take
wasted
every
money.
situation as a learning experience, and that
Right.
was
Well,
one of
and then
them.
you think about it too, like you wasted so much money on printing those booklets. I know those aren't cheap, and the photography and videography and all that stuff, and you don't get any of that money back. So, unless you put that in your contract too. So, which I would have at a 30-day listing.
And I think sometimes we think realtors talk so much. The best thing you can do is just say, like, this, if I were in that situation, I had another listing appointment with someone, if someone was like, hey, can you do a 30-day listing agreement? I'd be like, I can't, but why is that important to you? And then they'd say, well, we just really don't want to get stuck with this person and blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, okay, tell me more about that. Here's the solution for that. So it's not me, no, here's why I don't do it. It's like, why do you want that? Okay, well, here's why that's not an issue anymore. Yeah.
That's a good pivot.
Sometimes I feel like this is the worst thing you can do on a listing appointment is just go and like start spewing things. Like if someone's like, can you do 30 agreement? Like, no, because here's why, and this is what happened, and then I spent all this, and then it's done, and it's not worth my time, and then you're not, and then they're like, oh, okay, you could have just said no. But if you're like, why is that important to you? You're like listening and you're like, oh, you want these three things. Okay, cool. Well, here's what I do. It's those three things that you just mentioned and blah, 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 blah. So that when we get to 30 days, if we like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I appreciate, like, I know it was a weird situation, but I appreciate this conversation here because I think that it's helpful. Obviously, the past is the past, but if I'm in that situation going forward, I appreciate it.
totally. And I'm going on year 11 and I still have these things where I'm like, learning lesson, and they happen way more than you would think. So move on, find somebody else that'll be a good client for you. Okay, I was gonna keep going, but we're kind of getting low on time. I'm gonna skip through this unless you guys want to keep talking about creating content from your listings and transactions. Is this helpful, or do you guys want to skip to maybe how to like generate leads off of your listings?
I'd say let's go to generating leads.
Okay, I'm gonna show you really quick. So if you guys have listings, who here uses like an IDX to generate leads if they're posting a listing? Where you're saying comment this. Does everyone already do that? Because if not, we could skip that too.
I do it. I mean, and I don't even have my ManyChat set up. I just send it to people.
Do you just send them
Yep.
the listing, or do you send them an IDX?
Like, are you talking about like sending them to like your website through your IDX?
Yeah, like do you send them like, are you like, here's the MLS listing, or do you capture their info when you send it to them?
Oh, I would do the capture the like through my IDX, through my website, through the broker.
Okay, cool. Does everybody here do that, or do you guys want me to go through that with you?
You're also talkative.
I know you guys are a quiet bunch.
Go ahead. Why don't you just go through it? Yeah, please explain IDX. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just gonna really quickly show you. So, I've always felt like short form content is our handshake and we need to invite people further. So I'm going to show you how to really quickly generate leads from your listings. So you can do this in two different ways, but at the end of every single post that I do, I have a call to action. So whether you're sharing a story of a client or you're sharing a listing or you're sharing a neighborhood feature, all of those we want to have a call to action at. So for my listings, typically it's like, if you want more info on this house, comment Tempe and I'll send you the listing. If you're talking about an area, you're talking about, hey, this listing is this area, this community is amazing. If you want to see all active inventory in this listing, comment inventory and I'll send you a list of that. Or it could be like, if you're thinking of buying or selling or whatever, comment selling and I'll send you the link to my calendar. I like to tell people exactly what I want from them. If they're reading that post, here's what I want from you. Here's what you need to do next. Because we are people who want people to tell us what to do. And if you're not like asking for an appointment or asking or telling someone what their options are, they're not really going to know that. So really quickly, if you guys have listings, if you use ManyChat, great. If you don't, I've almost switched away from using ManyChat, but what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to comment this and I'll send you the link to this listing. Now, we're not going to want to just send them the listing because nothing happens there. We don't get a chance to get their information. They're not really becoming a lead. So through ManyChat, you can set up this little automation that says when someone comments Tempe, respond to their comment and then send them the links that they need. So I set up 3. I'm like, here's the listing that we're talking about. Here's a work with us guide. Like if you're ready to buy a house and it's not this house, click here to work with us, or get the guide to living in Tempe. Now you don't have to do all of these, but at least you want to do is view the listing. And then, like I said, we don't want that just to send them to a MLS listing where nothing happens. We want to send them to some sort of IDX site that captures their information. So I'm going to show you guys really quickly what I use. Hold on.
So while you're figuring that out, can I ask why you're thinking of switching away from ManyChat?
I use 2 different things. I will never stop using ManyChat, but if you are in a growth phase where you really want to have conversations with people about real estate, I just started a new Instagram account for our business, and I'm going to switch my current one just more for what it already is. I want to have conversations with people about real estate. So what someone does now is if they comment Tempe, I can only message them if I add them as a friend, typically if they're private, or if they're not and they already follow me, then I can just message them. But I want to like engage if you're starting or you're trying to grow. The more people you engage with, the more the algorithm pushes you to more people like that. So before it would just be like, here's the link, bye. I also have like automations that happen on the back end once they do that. But on my new account, what I do is I like, if I can't message them, I comment back and I'm like, hey, just followed you. So I can't send you a message without doing that. And then I send them the link personally and I say some sort of follow-up question like, hey, here's the link. I love this area. Are you guys looking to move into that area? And then I let them respond and say, yeah, here we're looking for this. And then I'll usually be like, cool, do you have someone helping you look for houses yet? And they'll say, yes, we're working with an agent, or no, we're not. If they say no, then I'm like, I would love to learn more about what you're looking for. Do you want to grab a coffee sometime, or do you want to hop on a Zoom, or yada, yada, yada? Or maybe they're like, I'm not ready till next year. I mark every single person that I have a conversation with as a lead in Instagram. And then I keep a checklist. I don't add every like small conversation to my database, but I have one card in my database that's Instagram leads. Because those are the people that are gonna those are the people that you'll see like in a year from now just bought a house with someone else and you're like, wait, I talked to you at some point. But if there's no connection, it's just a link, I don't feel like it works as well. But at some point, you want to automate as much as you can. And if you're too busy and you can't have those conversations with people, then you do ManyChat.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, one second. Let me just
I
pull
feel
the
like that's
list.
kind of why I got away from using it too. It's like there's just no personal touch. So I like that, especially if I'm getting 200 comments of something, that's a different story. But if I'm getting 2 or 3, that's a very simple message to send. Like you can even have
Yeah.
it drafted up in your notes section with the link and everything and ready to go.
Nicole, I was just gonna add that in. Like that's the exact reason that we decided to pivot and like scale that back for you. And like, yes, okay, it's what, $15? Like, but $15 adds up and there's a lot of systems that we have for 10, 15, $20. So if we can save here and there and we end up having better, deeper conversations with people, like I agree, Molly, like that is such a no-brainer. And like to go deeper with people makes all the difference in the world.
I've had more productive real estate conversations on my account with like 200 people than I have with everything automated. We get so busy that I need everything automated, but if I have the time or if you can pay a VA to just have conversations on your behalf, um, yeah, go for it. So I'm
Or
going to
you
show you.
can start them and then you could always tap back in, like have someone start a conversation and be watching your DMs, like if you are to that level. But then as soon as it turns into like more of a conversation or like something deeper where they're asking bigger questions, then yeah, like have your VA or assistant tap you in.
Here's I'm going to show you really quickly. Oh shoot, it's going to be long. Let me see if I can switch to my other account. I'll show you how to tag. Do you guys know how to tag people as a lead too?
I don't know how to do that. I'm
No.
interested to see this.
Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna do that with you guys. I'll show you really quick. Um, Let me see if I can do it on here. Oh, you can't. Okay. So basically up in your top, hold on. Oh, 1 second. Sorry, I forgot to say.
Is it where you're adding like a label?
You just tag them. So up in the top right corner, usually, sorry, I have Jared trying to get in somewhere right here. Oh no, let me go to my messages and I'll show you. So, like, here, see up at the top, it says lead in purple. So up here, there's a tag, and if you hit tag, there's a button that says lead. And then if you click that, they'll
Oh,
they'll only show as a lead for 30 days of when you have had a conversation last. But I like, they'll stay that if they message you again, but you can then filter for just leads. But I like that because then when someone messages me, they have lead underneath them, and I'm like, oh, continue a conversation with them. That's a real estate lead.
hmm.
Anyways, we're doing
I like
all
that.
of the place today, but so on, I use Assist, which is my database. So I'll share like this, and then it brings them to this. Or it actually looks like this. It looks better. Once they click on a photo, it asks for their name, their email address, their phone number. So then those people become a lead with me, and really cool about Assist is then they go into my pipeline as soon as they do that.
Yeah, I love that.
And then this turns every person who comments and puts their information in into a lead that I have a checklist that happens after. So you're like, reach out on Instagram and say hi, or set them up on a search, or whatever it is that is standard in your business.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then from here you just like following up on these people, like do you set them up? Does your CRM just set them automatically up on a drip too, like if or on a campaign for houses if they've already looked at a couple?
No. No, my goal is to set an appointment. So like if they download this, it's not. They come into their own column of Leads Plus right here. If they download something, and then I have a checklist of just manual things that I do. They zap to my flow desk, so they'll get my emails, but that's all.
Awesome. I love that. Is there anything else you want to share with us before we could do like a quick 5-minute Q&A? Is there anything else you wanted to show us on your presentation before we call it?
I don't think so. I feel like I talked about a bunch of different things. It was just QR codes. I feel like I don't really have enough time to get into any of it, but yeah, any questions?
I don't have a question, but I would like to say that last year I bought your Flowdesk email templates and they were, I do not use them all for what I probably should, but they're beautiful and the workflows are wonderful. And it has helped me get so many more Google reviews. And we do like the little Starbucks gift card, and people send pictures with like, thank you so much with what they got. And they love it. So thank you for that because I never did email marketing before then. And it was so nice to have a template that already existed.
Good.
And
Thank you.
and even though I did not do it, my admin did, but she knocked it out of the park. And I love your templates and thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, and so if you're not following Molly already, will you pull up your Instagram one more time so we can show people? So Molly Rodham, Realtor,
Okay.
follow her, and then you can sign up if you want to go to, do you have your a link in there for like Stan or whatever in your bio? Or any
For
of the things that you sell?
oh yeah, all of my products. I don't know if
Oh,
I have.
perfect.
Here's the Flowdesk Academy. That's all my templates.
And you do, I know you were doing coaching. Is it closed now for your coaching program?
No, I have two coaching programs. I have Gather, which is for agents that do, if you do 15 million or more. It's so cool. It's twice a month we have guest speakers, kind of like this, and then once a month at minimum we have like an open session. Everyone's really close and really great friends in there. And then I have Gather Mini, which is a 3-month intensive just based off implementation. So like that one's for someone who buys all the things, takes all the classes, but never implements. I don't feel like that's you guys. But that's a 3-month intensive where we're just basically getting stuff done in your business. But yeah, that's it. And then I have the Flowdesk templates. Those are in my link in bio.
Love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any other questions for Molly before we let her go? Because it is what, like 9 o'clock in the morning where you are now?
10. It's
10.
10.
Okay, I'm like, I feel like it's so early where you are. Um, all right. Nobody,
Oh,
no questions? Awesome. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for being on Modern Agent Blueprint. Molly, thank you again for being
beautiful.
on. I appreciate you so much. Love your content. And this will all be on YouTube soon. So we'll have it posted shortly. And then if anyone has any questions, reach out to Molly.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.